G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to the round 21 review. Firstly, hope that you're all well and had a ripper of a week. I do need to start off by saying thank you so much for the outpouring of support that I've received over the last week. I did mention that my dear old mother-in-law is currently battling cancer, having a bit of a tough time, and there have been so many messages that were left on my last round review through Twitter and other platforms from people offering their support, giving not only me but my mother-in-law their best wishes. It really does mean a lot. I can't say, words can't describe what that means to me, and it just goes to show that we've built a terrific community of people here. So thank you very much for that. Also, a big thank you to the 3 people that have left some thanks money. I didn't even realize that this was a thing, but apparently if you are watching on a PC, for example, next to the subscribe button on my channel, there is a thanks button where you can donate some money to the channel. And I certainly don't expect anyone to do this, not whatsoever, but there have been 3 people that have done that. One of them wishes to be unnamed, which is cool. Thank you very much for that, mate. You know who you are. But to Bucky O'Hare and Rod Todd, who have left a really generous sum of money there, I really do appreciate that, guys. You didn't need to do that, but with your permission, I've spoken to you guys about this. I will be donating that money to the Cancer Council, and it will certainly be going to a good cause. So thank you so much again. You don't have to do that. No one does have to do that, but if you decide to do it, all that money will be donated because it's obviously a cause that's really close to my heart at the moment. But look, back to SuperCoach. How did I go this week? I was going to say 42. Geez, that would have been nice, wouldn't it? There were some massive scores going around the last couple of months, but nothing like that. It was 24-52. Just a pass score, I think, particularly where I'm ranked. But what I'm happy about, and I've been aiming for this, inching closer and closer for the last month, I'm finally inside the top 200 overall. 192 for my season rank. It's been my highest rank so far this season, so certainly tracking in the right direction. So stoked with that. Managed to get into 10 out of 10 prelim finals in my leagues, which I'm also stoked about because I've got some really tough competition there. That's been a pretty good achievement. Hopefully luck is on my side and I can make my way through to at least a couple of grand finals this week. My total score, 47,785. So again, pretty solid. Maintain that top 1% rank for the majority of the season, which is awesome. And apart from that, I don't think there's much else to say. So hope that you're all well. As I said, let's see how the team's actually going. Now, I do actually have a couple of concerns going into this week. The first one's obviously Danger. Had his score on field with a 21, which isn't ideal. Hopefully he's right to play again this week. Josh Kelly, heels are laid out. Is he going to get up for this week? Fingers crossed. I tell you what, George put out a tweet, I think it was about a week ago, saying that anyone that selected Josh Kelly, shame on you, shame on you. And George, I've got to put my hands up, mate. What were we doing? I'm not too sure. I was absolutely raving about this pick after the first couple of weeks when I brought him in after the bye, but slowly but surely, it's happened. GWS players, absolutely none of them in my side next year. And of course, the other man is Sammy Walsh. So late in the game, came off with an ankle injury. He has been cleared for scans, I've heard this week. There is a good chance he gets up. Still a chance he doesn't, but I've got my fingers crossed that Sammy can manage to get up for me this week. But take a look at the defence. So pretty consistent scoring here, isn't there? So I've had 107, 112, 107, and 105. So what's that? A 7-point range there from May, Whitfield, Lloyd, and Stewart. So I'll take that from all those blokes. You always want a little bit more, 110 plus type scores from your premiums. But when we're talking about defenders and forwards, then 105 plus is always okay for me. But Stewart's been a really consistent player for us this year. Seagull, he's certainly lost his ceiling, but he'll be a lot cheaper next year as a starting selection. There's no way we're going to be paying 650k for him. If Dawson goes up to Adelaide or leaves the Swans for any reason, then this will be even more of an attractive pick for me next year. Whitfield, he plays for GWS. He won't be selected in my side next year. Short, he's been a really underwhelming pick for me. I was really expecting 100 plus average from him as a minimum. That massive grand final, huge game in the pre-season. Yeah, was it some fake gold? I wouldn't go that far, but he's certainly been underwhelming for what I expected. Ridley had a better game this week. Last week, just a terrible game, that real lockdown role, which wasn't ideal for him. Redman out this week. Possibly helps him, but I think Heppel's also coming back in. So 91, not a disaster, but we want 100 plus from Ritters. And Stephen May, he was actually on 60 points at half time. What I love about May is the fact that he doesn't spend any time on the bench. You go back and take a look at his time on ground. More often than not, it's at the 100% mark. Kicks the ball. He takes all the kick-ins. I think there was one stage where Rivers was going to take the kick-in. May said, come on, shoe off, son. This is my job. And I thought, you absolute ripper, Steve. So some really easy points with kick-ins from May, which is always handy each week. Madden didn't play, got dropped this week, which I was a little bit surprised about because I think Brisbane, we really, really lack speed. Maybe with Cockatoo coming into the side, that helps us a little bit there. But I think Madden's actually a big part of our future, and I really rate him as a player. A lot of development to go, but I think that he can be a really solid player for us. Wouldn't believe it. Battery running low. I need to get more organised with this, don't I? I'll be back in a sec. Onto the midfield, my Mr. Reliable, Jack Macrae, was my captain this week. You can see that the vice-captain was on Sammy Walsh. I haven't been able to get the Walsh vice-captain or captain correct all year. It seems whenever I put him as my vice-captain, he gets one of those lower scores in the 70s to 80s. Whenever I don't have him in the loop, he goes his 140 plus. But that's Supercoach for you, isn't it? But I can't believe that I didn't actually start with Jack Macrae. I've said it a few times now, but I was just really spooked with the Dogs midfield setup. I thought with Treloar coming in, what's going to happen to these blokes? Someone like a Jack Macrae, is he going to be pushed out to a wing, for example? No, it just hasn't happened like that, and I should have known better because I've been playing this game for a very long time, and I think this has been the only year in probably the last 3 to 4 years where I haven't started Jack Macrae. So that cost me some points early on the season, but I did obviously manage to get him in about 10 weeks ago, I think it was now. So we're up to have him in the side, and if I didn't have him in, I'd be really struggling at the moment because I'm not a Steel owner. He's absolutely killing me. I'm locking him in my starting side next year. And the other bloke that I'm absolutely locking in, throw away the key, quote me now, is Touk Miller. He's up there with my favourite plays in the competition. His work rate, I won't get into him now. I'll save that for my player review video. I'm going to put out a big one on Touk at the end of this season. Clayton Oliver, 98, so I was expecting a little bit more. He's a contested possession beast. Unfortunately, gave a few free kicks away, didn't use the ball overly well, but no one really did. The weather was absolutely terrible. And how was that? Lightning. Just unbelievable. One of the longest quarters I think you'll ever find in AFL history. But yeah, look, Clary, he's had a really, really solid season. Huge ceiling. Had a bit of a lean patch. It's been a good last couple of weeks. Not talking about that 98, but the 2 weeks before. So I still think he's been a wonderful starting selection. And again, someone who I'm going to highly, highly consider for my side next year. Titch, absolutely phenomenal. I mentioned last week that I need to really, really start to give him his due praises because he's been fantastic for me after the bye, and a 150 was ideal for me this week, particularly when I don't own Jack Steele. So that pretty much evened out. I lost 5 points on that, but yeah, absolutely fantastic from Titch, and he's just going from strength to strength. Hoping for a big last couple of weeks from him. Rory Laird bounced back again with a 119, been a phenomenal starting pick. Look, preferably you'd have him in your back line and then have someone like a Bontempelli, a Steele Miller type in this midfield position. But given the fact he's averaging 115 plus, I'm really happy to still have him in the midfield. Will be a mid only next year. So for the first time, I think ever, he will not be available in our defensive line. So I know he's been a staple for many coaches over the years. That's going to be a little bit different for us going into 2022. Sammy Walsh, as I mentioned before, an absolute young gun. This bloke's only going to get better and better. And again, another player that I'm going to highly, highly consider for my starting side next year. Will he get up this week? Well, I've heard that the reports are fairly positive at this stage, but again, we just don't know. If I was Carlton, would I risk this bloke for the next couple of weeks if he wasn't 100%? Probably not, but as a Supercoach owner, I'm a little bit selfish. Please play him, Carlton. I really need him in my prelim grand final, my prelim final. Zeret, the next man, 123. He's actually had a really solid, consistent season. I think there was a post on Twitter where he ranked elite for, I think, about 5 to 6 categories. So, look, it hasn't always resulted in awesome Supercoach scoring, but 115 average on the season, that's still pretty good from Zeret. I started with him. So that's been what I called a successful pick. Sort of. I suppose the reason why it may not be successful is that I could have selected other players around his price range that have had better or more solid seasons than him. But at the end of the day, I'm not complaining too much with Zeret. Zorko, he's had a really lean last month, but came back with a vengeance. He really did set the tone for the way that Brisbane played over the weekend. His pressure was absolutely manic, 10 tackles. It was just a fantastic game from Zorko. It was a real captain's game, and I was really proud of the way that he played, and I think other players followed his lead. So 139, I think that was in the top 10 scores for the week from any player in any line. So fantastic to see the Magician bounce back. He just looked on, full of energy. It's like he's lacked a little bit of energy the last 3 weeks, so hoping that he can continue that for the next couple and, really rev up our boys to have a decent shot at winning a final anyway this year. And Trav Boak, a 109, you know who I always compare this bloke to. It's Boak versus Brayshaw, and Brayshaw's been suspended this week. So bad luck to Brayshaw owners, but if he does miss a week, then all of a sudden this trade probably balances back in my direction now. So yeah, Boak with 100 plus, I'll just take every week because he's been giving me sub hundreds, which has been really disappointing. So 100 plus from Boak. 2 thumbs up. I'm pretty happy with that. Josh Kelly didn't play. Really unfortunate. You'll notice that through my DPP on my bench, which is something I've really been advocating for people to have this year, I was able to cover Jelly with Zorko. I only actually had one player on my bench this week that played, and I did need him to fill in for Jelly. So I'll show you how I've done that in a minute. Bianco didn't play. That's really disappointing. He was a medical sub. Does he come back in? Fingers crossed, because I'd love some extra coverage. And Newcomb just can't get a game at the moment. Again, really disappointing. Onto the rucks and forwards. Gone. Yeah, disappointing. Luke Jackson is an outstanding player. He's just sharing too much of the ruck duties at the moment, which isn't allowing Gawn to score big whatsoever. So a sub 100 from Gawn, extremely disappointing. Don't think I'll be starting him next year. Grundy with a 107. Again, it was a pretty subpar game from Grundy, but he managed to go 100 plus, which I suppose that I'll take. Yeah, the rucks next year are going to be a really, really interesting discussion point. I don't know what on earth I'm doing at the moment. So, I'll have to have a big think about that pre-season, about my strategy going into next year. Edwards, didn't need him as my loop this week. And finish with the forward line. Aaron Hall, I'm not going to bang on about him anymore. Love this bloke. Will I start with him in 2022 as one of my premium defenders? I'll highly, highly consider it. I think that I owe this man for what he's done for me this season. Love the Aaron Hall pick. Danger, we all know what happened with him. Look, is Toby Green unlucky to get rubbed out? Look, from a SuperCoach perspective, and if I want to be, I suppose, a little bit greedy, then great that he's rubbed out for a couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't think that he probably deserved that. He's had a bit of a grubby reputation, not one of my favourite players. I know Spills actually loves him. I am warming a little bit more to Toby Green. He's just such a talented player. But when, Selwood gets off for his act, Green gets 2 weeks, I just don't see the consistency there. So I know he's going to appeal the decision, and I'm probably expecting him to get off and be available for this week, which would be really handy for owners. Marshall, 123, has been a terrific pick. If you didn't miss that week with COVID, man, this would have worked out extremely well. It still has worked out really, really well. I will start with him next year in my forward line. So awesome game from Rowan Marshall. DeGoey, 85. I thought he was a little bit ripped off because had enough of the ball, had some tackles in there, maybe a lack of contested possessions, that may have been it, but from what I saw in the game, he got some really important contested clearances. Maybe it was just a quick handball, but again, these are really important acts during a football game. So I thought that he deserved at least a 95 plus from that. I'm not too disappointed with this pick because I love his role and I actually like the way that he's playing. Hopefully his mind will be a little bit clearer, a little bit fresher now, given the fact that the court case, that's now been thrown out. Hopefully that's good things for Jordan DeGoey. Zeeble, 84, I've all got him. Don't really need to talk about him. Saunders, I had as my loop this week. He was going to be my captain in case I needed to take Walsh's score. Didn't need to in the end. And this is the man who I am probably most impressed with this week. So don't worry about the 150 odd from Titch and McRae. This is the man who I needed to perform. So you can see what I did was that I ended up switching Zorko into my forward line. Got Poulter up forward, Zorko in the mid, and that way I could bring Briggs in for Saunders. So that's how I end up covering Kelly this week with Briggs. So yeah, just stoked with an 86 from him, particularly when you're getting, Bolton, Dale, Hind, who didn't even reach his mark. So, yeah, wrapped with the Briggs emergency this week. So that's pretty much it for now, guys, I think. Look, no trades, as you know. There's just nothing that I can do at this stage. All I'm praying for at the moment is for Walsh to play and get up this week, Kelly to get up and play this week, and also Danger. Because if I've got 2 or more of these players out, yeah, what am I going to do for coverage? I could be copping a couple of donuts. Luckily, I have not copped one donut this season. Things have just worked out well for me when I've had a couple of injuries. But this week, I am really, really worried. I hope that Briggs plays this week. Poulter doesn't look like he's going to get into the side. Newcomb's been playing okay in the VFL, I think, but again, not confident with him. Bianco was a medical sub. Does he come back in? I hope so. Again, not sure with Kelly. Fife's always going to be a loop. And after Brisbane's performance over the weekend, Madden won't come back into the side because Gardner's due to come back in, as well as our Brownlow medalist, Lockie Neal. So I think that Madden may be a little bit of a dead pick for the next couple of weeks, which is unfortunate for me anyway. But look, I'll leave it there, guys. Hope that you all had a great week. For anyone that does have a trade or two up their sleeve, I will be putting out a grand final edition of the stock market video, so stay tuned for that. Tonight, I will be recording the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast with Spills, which is always good fun. Last week, we did welcome George to the channel, which was great to have a chat with him. I think it will just be Spills and I this week, but there may also be a special guest as well. We'll see how we go. But that's it from me, guys. Thank you again to all the people that have sent through those messages of support and those people that have donated some money through that thanks button. As I said before, it will go to a really, really great cause. So take care, guys. If you're in lockdown, hope that you're all well. If you're not, you lucky buggers, enjoy yourself. See you soon, guys. Take care. Bye.